Welcome back to Talk of Alabama. Good things come in threes, and a book series is no different. Today we're reintroducing you to Micah House. He's the author of the Blanchard Witches series, and his newest book is titled Stitches in Time. Micah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here again.
Yes.
And face to face.
Face to face, in person this time. So much better. We can talk about your book, the newest one. This is the third one.
The third one.
In the Blanchard Witches series. So without revealing too much, without any spoilers, what can people expect from the third installment?
So the first one, obviously, we introduce you to the family, and there's, they have to stop a killer, and, typical drama. Second one moves into some other characters that come into the forefront. But the third one is more family focused. There's not really an outside threat. Basically on the title, a spell goes wrong and people are flung back into their family timeline.
Oh.
And something goes wrong and they kind of mess the family future up.
Oh no.
Which changes the family structure forever. I don't think that spoils too much.
Sure.
It's pretty obvious that's going to happen.
Yes.
But it's really great, but you get to see characters you've heard about but that were already dead when the series started. You meet lots of kooky people, and there's a lot of emotion and sentiment because they're going into their own timeline. Like one character is in her grandmother's youth.
Wow.
So all the stories she used to hear about, she's now living. And it's a very sentimental book. It's really my favorite so far of the series.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought as an author you couldn't pick favorites.
I can.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I can. This is my favorite so far because it's very family focused and sentimental.
Certainly. And this is a family that you've spent a lot of time with. These characters, you have been on this journey. And we were just talking. A lot of people think, when you're an author, then you're planning out every single bit of this. But these characters have kind of taken you on a ride.
They do. It writes itself. For example, in this book, a character took me on a wholly different path than I thought it was going to go on. And as I was telling you before in the break, I kind of can't reverse it now. So as I'm writing the other books, I just have to go with that flow because that's where she took me.
That's where the character took you, and that's where we're going. How did you come up with this idea?
So I'm from Alabama. My witches are from Alabama. I have a big Southern family, fun cousins, kooky aunts and uncles, grandparents. And it's really the story of a Southern family. But they have powers, which makes it more interesting because you can make anything happen.
Sure.
So they're always sometimes monsters they have to stop, bad people they have to stop. But in the meantime, they're dealing with births, deaths, tragic losses, joys, falling in love, and you're just following a family. And in the series, there will be 6 in the series. It takes the family over a 10-year span.
Okay.
So faces are changing. Some people don't make it. Babies get born. Other smaller periphery characters come more to the main focus. And so you really get to know a lot about this family.
And really fall in love with this family. But Micah was telling me, just as a warning, don't fall in love with anybody too much.
Too much, because as I say, when it writes itself, sometimes I'm like, well, he just died, and I did not know he was going to. So, okay, he's dead, and so you just move on.
Exactly.
And,
So that's your warning. Certainly, don't get too attached to any one person, but certainly be along for the ride. I love that you put so much of Alabama into these books, too. Are there certain places, are there certain themes that people will recognize if they're from this area?
Yeah, well, I'm from Tuscaloosa, so there's a lot of, Daimler County is fictional. It is set in between Tuscaloosa and Birmingham.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Tuscaloosa, a lot of Birmingham. I don't know which book it is, if it's the second one or the third one, but Vulcan, there's a whole scene at Vulcan. I don't know if I can legally do this, but they have lunch at Chez Fon Fon.
Okay.
So sorry, Chez Fon Fon, if I'm not supposed to do that.
I feel like they'd be honored
I hope
for your
so.
characters to have lunch there.
And so there are a lot of scenery people. Oh, one of the characters introduced in book 2, her home was Quinlan Castle, which they just tore down.
I know.
And that really upset me, but it lives on in my books.
Good. I'm glad it found a nice home in your books and will live on.
Right.
Certainly. Yes. Where can we find your books?
So I always encourage people to buy locally. Little Professor here in Birmingham, and Ernest and Hadley in Tuscaloosa have it. But you can get it online at all the online places. But I always want people to buy from your brick and mortar.
Certainly, and support those local independent bookstores that are so important to our communities. Certainly. Micah, this sounds like a wild ride. It sounds like a lot of fun. And you're going to be back here soon because you're already on the 5th book.
Yes, I just finished the 5th one. It's going through editing. The 4th one is already in print form ready, coming out in September.
You're just, cranking these out, and these characters are just not letting you rest.
They're not at all.
I love it. Micah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Of course, yes. All right, if you want to see Micah in person, too, he'll host a reading and book signing at the O'Neill Library in Mountain Brook on April 8th at 2 o'clock. So you can be there. You can get your signed copy from Micah in the Blanchard Witches series.